All right, so welcome back to this dull Tuesday, the 22nd of August. So I have a mic on today because it's very windy. We're after having quite stormy weather. But I really want you to be able to hear what I'm saying today, because today we've got a new project that's after land to the farm, and you guys have told me it's something that something like I should get, but I never really told you that it was my intentions to get one. And today we have got one. And what have we actually got? Well, here it is. This, in the dull weather, is a Massey Ferguson 50B. So basically what you're looking at here is a 165 industrial Massey, or a 565. Very similar engine, which has a backhoe on it and a front loader on it, and is heavier built, a heavier front axle, because it's an industrial grade machine. Apart from any of you guys that might have seen on Instagram or Facebook a post we put up, before that, I wouldn't say there was too many thinking that we were going to get something like this. And there is a bit of a story behind it before we get into what we actually have. So basically, my dad used to work for the council years and years ago. While milking cows at home, he also had that job in the council. And one thing my dad said, he'd love to eventually see a digger on the farm, some sort of a digger on the farm. He said it'd be ferocious handy. He had seen loads of these being used on the council, loads of these being used on neighbouring farms as well. 15 years ago, my dad and me went and looked at a few of these actually. Tyre kickers we were. We looked at about 7 or 8 of these over the last 15 years and never really bit the bullet in any of them. I almost did about 6-7 years ago. A local one came up for sale and I kind of knew the machine, but once I seen it up close and realised the amount of work that it needed, I just didn't bother. I had enough of stuff going on that time and I just said no. And I walked away from it, and I kind of regretted it ever since. Then my father and me had a discussion about 2 or 3 weeks ago about it again, and we talked about little jobs that I could possibly do with it on the farm. Now, this doesn't replace a track machine in any shape or form, no way. This kind of, to me, would act as literally a backup as a front loader if anything was to break on the other. The backhoe would be good to use just to maybe take sods and things out of a shuck. There's plenty of them and shucks here and there, just to red out the ends of drains, dig an odd hole here and there, bury an odd bifron in years to come, something like that. So this one popped up anyway. I went and I had a look at it. My dad wasn't with me this time, and it seemed all there. It seemed to be in fairly good condition. It's going to be rusty. They're old machines. You're not going to find one unless it's been restored, and then you're going to pay a premium for it. You're not going to find anything that hasn't got rust on it. So, but one thing we all have said to ourselves is if it has glass in the cab, it's clean enough. Now, a lot of these were used on farms and they were quite common. There was a lot of these about, and there still is a lot of them ticking about, and they're still working away to this day. Although a lot of them, people took the backhoe off and started using them as a front loader, because believe it or not, the front loader on them are a savage job. Serious good hydraulics. It lifts super fast. I'll show you that in a wee while, and can lift a good load because it has a heavy duty axle compared to a normal standard 165 or 565, which would be a similar engine as well. And that on its own is a big plus for me. One thing we will have to do with it is I'm going to look at putting a third service onto this. The brackets are there on the side of the loader to run the pipes, so I'm going to see, is it a big job to put a third service on it? It shouldn't be. But when I looked at this one, it had some pretty big faults right off the bat. The back actor is where they all basically lie. The bushings and pins, they have wear on them. Naturally enough, you'll not find one that, unless it has been repaired, without wear. And the bush is gone here, the pins is all worn, there's loads of play in it, but not really worried about that. Can solve that all with a welder, new pins, new bushes, do all that work myself. Main issue is here. You get down here and have a look where the actual back actor is attached to the back end, and you can see here instantly, pin is here on this side, pin is completely broken on that side. It's not mounted at all. And the reason it's not mounted is this guy here is twisted out and the pin has sheared off, and it's only half a pin holding that on, so definitely you wouldn't go doing any work with it the way it is. You can just carry it and no more, and even with that you have to take it real easy and watch that pin does not move. You can see where someone has heated it, and the reason you can see it has been heated is the paint has obviously come off it with the heat. Now, heating that and pushing it back, you probably could do it. You'd have to take the back actor off to do it right. You're definitely going to weaken the steel that's in it because you're taking the temp out of it. And to me, it wasn't really an option of fixing it. It is more a point of replacing it. Another thing that needs to be replaced and worked on is the actual slew mount on the bottom here. You can see where there's a significant amount of weld put here, so obviously something major happened here. Whether it all happened at the one time or not, I don't know, but this was welded, and you can already see, if you look closely, the weld is cracking open. It's not fit to hold it. That weld is on both sides. It's here as well. So that is no good. That's very unsafe. So what I had to do was I had to get onto Connachtys first. That was the main place I got onto because it's beside me, and I know they break a lot of machines and stood more of a chance of having it than anyone else. And they did have it. And I got talking to them and found out roughly what it was going to cost to replace this and to replace this. There's a bit of work on that. This has to be lifted off. It would make a good video of stripping the whole thing down and trying to sort that out. But that is the major problem that's there that would have to be solved straight away. Another problem that I spotted was it doesn't steer too well. The power steering works fine, but it seems to always want to pull to the left, like as if you had a heavy load, which you kind of have on the back, but this was a little bit too dramatic. Didn't even want to come through that gate there. So the reason for that is the wheels, back wheels. This tyre is completely a different size than the other one. If you look at the gap here versus the gap here, there's quite a difference. The whole machine sits over to the left hand side. But again, I knew the tyres, straight as I looked at it, needed to be replaced. The tyres, especially that one on the far side, is ready to explode. This one doesn't look too bad, but it's got severe dry rot the whole way around it. So it needs to be replaced. The front ones as well. They're bad style, them tyres. So again, got that all priced up so we'd have an idea before we made any bid on it what we'd have to spend on it straight away just to get the thing working. You see the way that tyre's all bulged up? That's because the whole wire is probably broken in the tyre. Grip's completely gone, but I'm not worried too much about the grip. It's the fact that it's gone into an egg shape on the top, probably overinflated, and the wire has given it. Dangerous tyre. So we do have tyres priced up for it, and we'll be going on it very shortly. So it has plenty of leaks. The main seals here on both sides are gone. The seal on this one here is gone. The one on the far side is okay. This one here is more of a concern. You can see the way it was threaded in, it obviously wouldn't hold the thread. The thread must be gone in the ram, so they welded this plate in to keep it forward. And the good thing about it is it's not leaking at the moment. This is the one that's leaking down on top of it, which is keeping it wet. But that one there is not actually leaking. So if it's not broken, we won't touch it. We'll leave it alone until it does give an issue, and then we'll probably look around and get a new ram for it. I wouldn't bother trying to root at that. Just take it off, get a second-hand ram from it and put it on, because once it's been welded like that, there's no point in starting to root at it again. The other rams on this side here, again, this one, I'm not sure if it's this one or actually this one. This is the one that's leaking badly. Look, all four rams will probably need resealing. It's a common issue on these. But by no means, with them issues, was I surprised at what I was looking at, because most of the other ones I had looked at had worse issues and had plenty of leaks. They all seem to have loads of leaks, as most of these old diggers have. Jack stands don't seem to have any leaks whatsoever, and they're working great. They lift the machine right up and hold it up. I've left it up all last night and it never moved at all. This here, which is designed to be able to slide back and forth on this, is welded in place. So you've got a clamp here, and you've got a clamp the very same on the far side, holding it that it can't move. I don't know why they did that. I assume these leads here aren't working or really badly leaking. I know there's a lever in there. When I move it, it doesn't seem to ever put any pressure on the machine. So I would like to remove these again eventually. For now it's fine, but eventually I would love to remove these and figure out what's wrong here and put it back to the way it should be. Cab is in amazing good condition. The back window is there. It's up above and it folds down and it latches closed, and there's not a bother on it. There's a wee bits of surface rust, but the window itself is in perfect nick and it seals the whole cab up. So that's a plus to have the like of that, because a lot of them are missing. You notice that there's a door missing. Well, it's not missing, it came with it. It just has a broken hinge on one side. The glass and all is perfect on the door, and the door itself is perfect. I just have to make a little hinge and attach it to the door and hang it back on. Latches and everything's fine on it. It does close once it's lifted on, so it's all there. So front grille is missing. Well, the power steering pump looking at you there, but the front grille came with it too. It just has to be reattached. It's not broken or anything. It's all there. It's just a matter of putting it all back together again when we have everything else sorted out on it. And just one other thing that came with it as well is a very good 3-foot bucket that's in really good condition. Good teeth and everything on it, so That'd be much better than the one that's on it. And then we have the other one that I really wanted, which was this ditch bucket, which is 6 foot. That is the one I really wanted, and that should be the handiest one of the lot, just for cleaning out bits of drains and things. The loader has no cracks, no wells, no nothing on it like that. It seems to be in very good condition actually. Even the pins here have next to zero movement in the whole mechanism of it. The only thing is a bit rusty is the latching system here, but we'll go through that. We'll loosen it up with a bit of diesel, put a few new bolts and things on it, but otherwise good condition. Obviously no lights work. Not too worried about it. Don't expect to be doing an awful lot of night work with this. There's not a whole pile of electrics on it. These old school machines, there's no computers, no stuff like that. It's quite straightforward to work on most things. And I have a repair workshop manual for to download it. It's just a digital version. I'm looking for a hard copy one. I'm welcome to pay for it. I tried online a few places and they were already sold. But if I could get an original workshop repair manual for it, brilliant. So the engine, these here, you had two options. There was a 212 and a 236. The 236 took over from the 212 in 1977, I believe. So this is the 236. I don't know what age this machine is. Probably a 79 or something like that. I don't have any knowledge. It never was registered for the road. So there's a brand new exhaust on it. And it's an original Massey Ferguson exhaust. That leads me to one thing that's massively good on this machine, and that is the engine. The engine is as sweet as a nut. I'll let you hear it in a little while. It is ticking over too high. So someone bent the throttle linkage. I don't know if you can see it. There's the throttle linkage there. And someone put a nice little bend on it just to increase the rev a little bit. Can turn it down there by hand, but I will sort that out. It's only a matter of adjusting the throttle linkage and getting her to tick over properly. I'd say the reason for that was to have a little bit more throttle when they were using the back end of it. So we're inside now and there's nothing major to look at in here. It looks rough enough, I suppose, but it's not actually too bad. I've had a bit of time to investigate and dig through all the dirt and stuff that's in it and realise there's not actually that much rot in here. It just needs a good tidying up. Our dash, nothing works in it. Not a single thing apart from these two lights. This here reads 2,098 hours. God knows when that was recorded, because it certainly doesn't work now, and there's a lot more hours on this than that I'd expect. That's just simply down to probably corrosion behind wires. Just have done their day and need to be replaced. And again, that's something that I will actually enjoy working on in the evening times and get all these clocks working. Now the third service will go here. I'll just have to see what kind of chest valve is underneath this, but third service lever will be here eventually, hopefully. Or we may have to change the whole chest valve to convert it to have a third service. So any of you guys who know a bit about that can advise me. But these two levers, the linkage is lovely and tight, very, very responsive. As I say, the loader, you'll see in a wee while, up and down, not a bother to it. We have a light here that's seized. We have a board nest here that come free of charge. We have wipers here, motor seized. I've took one of these apart before and I've unseized it. Which I intend to do with this one as well and try to get it up and running, maybe stick a new switch on the side of it. Air conditioning is standard. Our windows are good on this side. This is Perspex, not so good. We'll get some others, a flex glass or flexi glass you get, and we will redo that because it doesn't fade as much, I'm told, in the sunshine. So that will replace that, just enough that you can see out. We have someone's luggage and whole half belongings down there as well. So it'll all have to be just taken out and cleaned out. But funny enough, it's one of the main jobs that we're going to have to do with this. It's covered in grease, absolutely covered. Before we do any work on it, we need to clean the whole thing out, give it one hell of a clean through, and that'll make a serious difference on its own. We have a toolbox here and some pins and stuff in it. Now a filter, that's off. And this here, wherever that came out of, whether that is off the slew motor, the one on the far side here as well, which yeah, hasn't been used in a while. Our seat is in dung, but we'll turn it around anyway. So here we are. So some people refer to these as a pain in the backside. You either love them or you hate them. Other people say it's like playing the piano. I've been messing about it at the house for a while and you get used to them quick enough. Yeah, they're a bit fiddly. 2 levers would have been nice, and I think a later version of this came with 2 levers. But the good news is every one of them work. The back actor works perfectly, and the hydraulics on it and the movements on it are quite good. There's your view, which funny isn't a bad old view. The seat could do have been a bit higher, I suppose. Right, so I managed to get the seat back round again without needing a tetanus injection. We are going to put a new seat in it. I have one sitting in the shed ready to put into it, so it will need a new seat. It's beyond repair. We have a torque unit on this one. Some of them had a clutch, just like a normal tractor, clutch and brake. Others had a torque converter, which basically, you can see the arrows here, forward and reverse. The harder you press it, the quicker she goes. It's working well. I've took it and put it up again a few hills here. I haven't found it slipping yet. Be interesting to see what it'll be like when it heats up. People say they get much quicker when they heat up. They're slow in the mornings when they're cold. We'll find that out when we put it through its paces. But that's the unit we've in it, so we shouldn't have really any clutch problems. One other thing I want to put past people who has one of these is there's no manual throttle on it. None at all. You press this linkage here to go forward, the throttle comes with that. It gives you the throttle as is needed. But there's actually no hand throttle. Is there a reason for that? If you're using the backhoe and wanted to get a bit of extra grunt out of it, there's no hand throttle. There is a thing here on the bottom. I don't know what that does. There used to be a cable attached to it. There's nothing attached to it now. But I don't think that has anything to do with the throttle, has it? You let me know in the comment section below any wee bits of help like that or anything you see that doesn't look right. Let me know, because all that stuff is invaluable. Anyone that has one before, and it's all very, very helpful. The floor is not rotten. Batteries under here. There's linkage and a hydraulic filter under that one. But the floor itself is solid. There is no rot on that floor, which is great. Even on the seat base, no rot at all. The only rot that's on it is on that front piece there and a wee bit on the back one as well, but can cut it out and replace. Not concerned about that at all. The inside of that is in relatively good condition. First thing will be a service. We'll replace every single filter that it has and go through everything and grease it down and just check that there's no more leaks than the ones we have seen. And the next thing will be to fix these leaking rams here on the front. The handbrake is seized. There's no cable on the handbrake. It's just seized from probably been sitting. It has sat for the last 2 years on that farm. The reason being they bought a track machine. And once they bought the track machine, this became completely redundant and they had no use for it at all. They had a teleporter there as well, so it kind of made sense that it wouldn't really fit in with them any longer. So there's a few things that just need to be freed out. That's it. That is our 50B, and yeah, there'll be lots of interesting stuff to come up on that, and hopefully we'll get the thing into some kind of mechanical good order, if that makes sense. But anyway, I'm going on here to do a bit of grass measuring this evening. Before I end today's video, I'd like to say a special thanks to Evan Riley, who owns Lakeland Machinery in Monaghan. Evan went and picked that up for me on his lorry, and it was no easy task because he picked it up quite early in the morning for me, only a few days after I had bought it. I originally was going to go on the tractor to pick it up, but it would have been, yeah, the most of a day away, and it just worked out really well that Evan was going that direction and he was fit to pick it up for me. A bit of an ordeal trying to get it off the lorry because it didn't want to come off backwards, it wanted to come off sidewards, and yeah, it was a bit of an ordeal. I didn't film it. The last thing anyone would want is a camera shoved in their face when they're trying to get something like that off the back of a lorry. I have drove one of those before, or something very, very similar. I think it was a 50B, or is there another one, a 50BX? It's a long time ago, but on a farm that I worked on, or done 3 months work experience on after I finished at college. they had one and they done all the feeding of the cattle and everything with it. So that's where I kind of got that bug from. I thought it was a seriously handy yoke on the farm. I don't think it'll ever replace the front loader on my tractor. It's never was designed to. It might help out if anything goes wrong there, or it might do an odd job here and there, and that's all we want it for. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Till the next one, talk to you again.